and make sure it doesn't move.
The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. My mic was down for the start of the show. This is a great way to end the year.
We're here, though. We're here. Last day of 2021. Last day of our show for 2021. We've been technically up for only a third of the year. We started August 1st, but hey, at a third of the year, I think we've done quite a lot here. And I mean, definitely we want to use this day as a little bit of reflection for the entirety of the year. I mean, not just Running Point, but you and I both have had quite an interesting year. I think we've have a lot of memories to talk about, but also we have to recap some games that went on last night around the area.
Yeah, and after today, I'll have enough money to not have to work for the rest of the year.
There you go. You take the rest of the year off.
Take the rest
You
of the
get
year
out
off.
of there. You get out of there at 3:00, buddy. You enjoy your 8 hours of the rest of the year off.
Taking the year off. I'll see y'all next year, because that joke's never been said before. With that cheesy, terrible pun, we'll start Running Point with, like you said, recaps of the action last night. And we want to start in Springfield because we have post-game interviews from the Tigers, from Anthony Romo. The Tigers were able to take care of Hubbard, no problems in their department, as they win this one by a final score of 69-34. And it's a good bounce back after a triple overtime game 2 days earlier.
It's a game they needed to win, and they needed to take care of in a convincing fashion, because we all know Hubbard a little bit struggle bus right now on the boys' side of things. And we talk about this so often, and how basketball is so interesting because it's any given night, and it truly is. Anyone can beat anyone at any given night. Look at Sebring beating Springfield in Sebring just a year ago. But
you think about just the South Range game was a microcosm of that. On paper,
exactly.
South Range 1-7 versus 4-0 Springfield going into that game. People would probably come in and say, there's no way this goes to triple overtime.
Yeah. But I mean, there are cases too. I mean, record-wise, obviously, you have to respect every opponent, and you can't take any opponent lightly. But there are games that, record-wise, talent-wise, you look at them, they should win. And this is one where we all felt Springfield should win this one. And I think they did a good job of taking care of it. And that's a mark of a good team. You need to win the games that you should win, and the games that you should win, they should be convincing most of the time. We all understand all teams have their nights, and there are going to be nights where a rivalry game, South Range is going to take you and push you to your limit too. But marks of good teams are ones that don't let teams back in games like that and are able to finish the job when they need to. And Springfield with a good bounce back game here.
They show no signs of fatigue after playing almost 2 games on Tuesday, just 2 days ago.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, these guys, a lot of these athletes, these student athletes are made to play in tournaments, and they're made to go for long durations and everything, but still impressive that everyone's still able to step up and score. You said 69 points of offense. That's a decent amount for a boys high school team when you're averaging right around 70. So great job by Springfield. Hats off to them. And I know Anthony Romo does such a great job wearing double duty there. Helps out with the Hubbard girls, but he helps out too with Hubbard football. And like you said, he probably wore the split jersey.
I think he had the split shirt on. I think he was rocking the blue and the orange. One of the things that is also scary is, remember Jeff Brink you said in his first time on the show, these guys probably won't be in basketball shape until mid-January. Well, if they're not in basketball shape and they just won triple overtime and then came back 2 days later and won handedly with no signs of fatigue, just think about this team when they are in what he considers basketball shape.
Yeah, and I mean, basketball shape is more or less, like we said, running it coherently, able to move the ball. These are all athletes, though, that are on this team. These are all guys that have played multiple sports, too, play other sports for them. I mean, it is loaded. Springfield is loaded head to toe with just athletic playmakers. And once they do kind of figure out and they build that bond, that chemistry, they get that rhythm on the hardwood again, I think they're going to be even better than they are right now. But you got to be very impressed with the Tigers are looking out of the gates.
As we said, Anthony Romo caught up with Coach Jeff Brink and Alex Rothwell after the game and the win over Hubbard. We're going to hear from Coach Brink first, and then we'll hear from Alex Rothwell in their post-game interviews from Springfield.
Anthony Romo with Springfield head coach Jeff Brink after the Tigers' big victory tonight over the Hubbard Eagles. Coach, 3 guys in double figures tonight. Alex Rothwell leading the team in scoring. Just how much better do you guys perform when everyone's getting involved on the offensive end?
I think that's key for any team. You want to get balanced scoring, and I think for us, it's been something. If you look, we've had 4 different players as the leading scorer on different occasions. So it's been pretty balanced through the year. I thought this was Alex's best game of the year. I thought he was dominant tonight, blocking shots, rebounding the ball. He was awesome on the glass. Real nice touch inside, some nice post moves, mid-range. He had the whole game working. It was the whole repertoire. And one of the things we've been talking about is attention to detail, trying to make sure we got better at the little things. And we played really sloppy in the game against South Range the other night, so we wanted to clean some things up, and I thought we did a pretty good job of that tonight.
Your boys only 2 nights ago playing a 3 overtime game against South Range. Do you think fatigue was setting in earlier on tonight than most games?
I think so. We have a lot of guys that have had colds, and that's going around, and we have some guys that have been down and tired, and both played a ton of minutes. So we tried to get some of our young guys in that have done a nice job for us at the JV level. Got Colton Rourke in early, got Dylan Shealy in early, and obviously Kaysen Kosek, he's having a great year for us. And when you talk about some of those guys, our young guys have played really well in the JV level, so we thought they deserved to get some minutes and being able to get off into a good lead, and our kids working hard. We told our varsity guys, do your job so we can get these guys into the ball game. And I thought they contributed. Those guys came off the bench and gave us some good minutes. And obviously, I thought Sean Bell was awesome tonight, too. He had a really solid game all around.
Another night where your boys forced so many turnovers on the defensive end. Going back to last game, you guys forced 23 turnovers. Just talk about how your defense turns your team into offense so well. You guys have so many fast break points every single night.
Yeah, we've been really good at second chance points and transition. And one of the things we always go, your transition doesn't start when you're laying the ball, and your transition starts on the defensive end. So you have to be able to defend, you have to be able to rebound. And when Alex is dominating the glass like he did tonight, and he was throwing some deep outlets, it was easy to get things out and get going. And a lot of our guys did a nice job finishing, and you could see some really unselfish play, which is kind of a calling card of our program. I think the unselfish play is something I'm really proud of, our guys being willing to give up the ball to whoever might have a better shot. We had a lot of nice, easy buckets with some guys with some beautiful passing.
Anthony Romo here with Alex Rothwell, tonight's Ysn Player of the Game after Springfield's victory over Hubbard tonight. Alex, 18 points. You had a great night on the boards. Just how do you rate your performance tonight? You had a big size difference down low, and you really executed off of it.
Yeah, I mean, I had a size advantage, but, I give all the credit to my teammates. They found me the ball when I was open, and, they're getting me open looks.
Your team's still undefeated after 6 games this season. Just talk a little bit about the potential you think you guys have this year to make a run in the playoffs.
I mean, I think, we got to take it game by game. Every day going hard at practice, working hard in the weight room, on the court at practice every day. And I think, the sky's the limit for us, and we control our destiny.
You guys tonight had so many kids in double figures. Does Coach Brink really preach you guys to get everyone involved, and that's how much better the team will work on everyone scoring?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've always been an unselfish team. Even last year, we had 5 or 6 guys averaging double figures, and this year I think we got 4 or 5 more guys averaging double figures. So it's something important to us.
Alex Rothwell, tonight's player of the game.
That was head coach Jeff Brink and Alex Rothwell, the player of the game, after Springfield's win over Hubbard. And we once again thank Anthony Romo for all the great work he does in the post-game interviews from Springfield.
Big thing to mention too, and I mean when I talked with Coach Jeff Brink, one of the biggest takeaways, and what's even more impressive about this team being 6-0, is that you take all the guys that play football and that are in major roles on this team. Obviously, we know Bo Brungard, one of the bigger names there, but there's a lot of cross football guys, the basketball guys, and as Coach Brink has basically said, the success of the football team has deprived these boys of preseasons almost their entire high school career. And I mean, obviously that's a good thing. They're making it further in football, as Coach Brink will say. They want them to be successful. Success breeds success. But it just shows and complements how much better these athletes truly have become over the course of years and how talented they are now, that they can go right off of a football field, right off of going on another deep playoff run and walk right into a basketball gym and pick it up and have success in it. Truly impressive for the Springfield Tigers, for a team that really has not had a preseason in the last few years.
At the end of the day, those kids know how to win, and you can't coach that.
That's exactly it. I mean, it's basically that. It's bred in that these are kids that are talented. They know how to win. They know how to be successful, and put them in pretty much any sport, they'll find a way.
They proved it Tuesday night. They weren't playing great. They were, like Jeff Brink said, they were sloppy, but they know how to win games. They made game-winning plays down the stretch, and that's how they were able to pull out that triple overtime win. So I think that they'll prove time and time again this year that you're going to have to play a complete game, and it's going to be really hard to beat a team that just is full of guys that know exactly how to make game-type plays.
Yeah, I agree too. And when you got guys like Rothwell that are inside, that helps too. But they got a nice balance of height mixed with shooting. I mean, there's really a guy that can do pretty much everything for this team. And when they work coherently as a coherent unit, they can really be something special. And you have guys like Adam Wary and Alex Rothwell that are stepping up as guys that can play takeover basketball. And I think that's a new look that we haven't seen from the Springfield Tigers. And granted, they have been successful in the last few years, but the success from the team came from just how good the chemistry was between all those boys. There was not one guy that's going to blow you out of the water any single night prior to this season. Not one guy that's going to put up, you think 25, 30 points on any given night, but they're all capable of putting up 10 plus and beat you as a team. But now they still have that mentality, but you add in guys like Rothwell and Wary that can really fill up the box score when you need it to. That just adds another layer of depth to this team and makes them that much harder to beat.
All right, we will definitely get to our recaps, get to more recaps. But first, Ty, we got some business to attend to. And we have the Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley Price is Right challenge that we had to push to today because we both went over yesterday. And I believe when we ended yesterday, we said it was at 19,018. And I put it at 23. You gave me an 1,000 vote cushion and put it for 24.
I did.
So let's look at where we stand now with Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley. By the way, voting is still open. If you want to vote for Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley, go to ysnlive.com/big dogs. Voting is unlimited and ends Sunday at midnight. The boys' total right now is 8,519. The girls' total is 21,000.
There it is. Another dub. End the year on a dub.
Boy, did they explode.
They know how to, man. They know how to. Another night of basketball, too. There's no other games going on. So that was your last chance to really see any players that could possibly be on the Big Dog. So get out there and vote and get a Big Dog, too, for the new year, as start your new year off right with your community having a Big Dog honor.
The girls' total is more than yesterday's combined total was at the end of our show.
Girls basketball, man, is something to behold in this one, because in football and volleyball, there was at least competition. Girls basketball has firmly taken a hold of the flag and just run with it this entire season. Still got time, boys, to catch up. Girls are 3-0 on you in the first 3 weeks. They're looking to go 4-0, and they already have a massive lead.
Yeah, and it's a sizable lead.
I mean, getting out there and vote too. You got to get out there, share, get everyone in on it, get out there and vote, get your community another big dog. We've seen a lot of community first. We saw Badger get there first. We saw Howland get there first. So very exciting to see all these big dog honors go to these new schools and new communities that are under the banner. Like we said, you still got until Sunday at midnight. So while you're sitting there sipping on a drink, waiting for the new year, maybe you should throw a few votes towards a big dog tonight too, while you're waiting.
The combined total right now is at 30,028. Ty, you get the victory by a lot. I mean, you had 6,000 votes that you could have worked with.
Yeah, I mean, they always show up too. And I just had a feeling with that Thursday being one of the last nights of games. Games are usually a big draw for it too, is if they're reminded about them at the games, or they know about them being up for big dog honors, they're able to grab some more votes. So congratulations to them. They showed up big again. I get another win again, and I'm off to 3-0 start on you for basketball.
You are. You're just like
4-0 start on basketball now, picks.
Yeah. Who's winning the picks? Though?
Yeah, you got the pick 'em, but you can't touch the big dog on me.
Congratulations, you're good at Prices Right.
Yep, I am.
Come on down.
I'm coming for you, though. I'm only within 3 again of the actual picks.
I've been keeping you at bay this whole season.
You've been doing a good job since you took the lead. There's still this is the second half of the season, though. Conference play is happening now.
Ooh. I'm interested to see who's going to win this girls voting. I mean, when votes explode like that, you wonder if it's one person that kind of caught fire, or if a bunch of communities are now fighting over jockeying for position.
Well, taking a look at just the communities that are involved, I know Salem always explodes with votes, so it's very
hard. They already have a win. Remember, Riley Hutton already won.
We could see a Jenna McClish. I don't know though, because West Branch is on there too. Garfield, Jacksonville, and Western Reserve, and Liberty, all very decent, very good teams this year, and all very deserving, all with great communities behind them. I don't know. I mean, like I said, if I were to say on it, I don't know, because I don't know which one of those votes the strongest. Like I said, Salem's always been strong, but I don't recall any of them not being strong. None of these votes. So we'll see too. When we get Salem and Beaver Local up there, oh man, it's over.
Beaver Local, break our servers. It's over.
Beaver Local brings the entire freaking town of East Liverpool on to vote for him. I think they even have some plotters vote for him, as long as no one from East Liverpool's on there.
That's why we need to put East Liverpool and Beaver Local in the same poll.
Oh, they blow up down there. They're huge supporters too. Hey, with the way that the East Liverpool boys are playing, don't worry. I'm sure you're going to see a big dog nod on there again.
So let's get to the rest of the scores. Why don't we just stay with the boys for now, since we already did the Springfield and Hubbard score. We'll stay with Struthers, the one game that you got on me last night, 47-45. The Wildcats beat a very impressive Liberty team that was streaking into this game. Struthers, they're still here. They haven't changed one bit.
You got to talk about them too when you talk about NE8 and just how good they've played this year too. And I mean, I think they're still very, very good contenders for the NE8 right now. I put them, Jefferson and Girard, in a little pool right now as the big ones competing. Poland too, as far as the upper echelon of that. But I believe Struthers does have a victory over Poland, and that one was a big one too. So I think, you know what, for everyone that was talking about everyone that Struthers lost last year, and we know Metzger was a big name, and I mean there's big names that left a lot of schools. I think the biggest thing for Coach Wernicke was they're bringing back a lot of guys from last year too, and these are still talented basketball players. And you take that one hiccup up off of the board from game one where they lost to Cardinal Mooney, they've won the next 4 too. And even more impressive too, since the start of the 2020 season, the Struthers Wildcats are 30-2. since the start of the 2020 season. And that is absolutely an impressive record for not only Coach Wernicke, but for that entire Struthers community. They have a basketball team to be proud of, and they're once again showing they're not going anywhere this season.
And one of those losses was to St. Vincent St. LeBron.
In the playoffs was to St. Vincent St. Mary's. So you take that into consideration. This is a good basketball program.
They haven't changed the name yet? Sorry. I thought they changed it by now.
Yeah.
Maybe they're the fighting.
They might.
Maybe they're the fighting LeBrons. Instead of
the fighting LeBron. It's just LeBron. Just like that's their new logo. Just LeBron, just squared up.
But like,
no, I think the Wildcats are a team to be recognized and a force to be reckoned with, especially in that NE8. I'm excited to see what the Wildcats have to offer for the second part of the season.
The next big game for them is next Friday. They play Jefferson, and Jefferson's been lighting the world on fire offensively, especially Bobby Ray. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the high scoring offense and obviously good defense from Struthers kind of hits each other.
You're gonna have to get. I mean, that's gonna be a big one for Struthers and Girard also. I mean, with them already beating Poland, they've already proven that they could beat the Bulldogs. There still will be another matchup with Poland on the docket as well. But yeah, I agree with you. Those are the other two teams where if Struthers can take down Jefferson and they could take down Girard, if they could prove that they could beat them, I don't know how you can't consider them favorites in the NE8 again.
Look at Girard. They're a dark horse. I mean, this was a team last year, Ty, 3 wins in the season. And here we are talking about Girard as a serious contender in the NE8. Like, if there's if Girard pulls off even if they don't win the NE8, but they maybe finish second, maybe they split with Struthers or something, or they finish with 2 losses in the NE8, I would be very adamant for voting the coach of the year for Girard.
Funny thing was too, talking about these teams that I saw last year, and it just goes back to how you can truly change a program around in just 1 year. Because I remember going to Rocket Mortgage last year, and I was calling Girard versus Camel boys, and both teams came in winless. Both teams came in like 0-10, 0-11. And you look at where Girard and Camel Memorial are right now, how big of a turnaround you could have in just a single season. And I mean, you understand, obviously Camel had some guys back, but that still credits the program that 3 guys wanted to come back to this program, come back to Coach Canarino, and come back to Camel Memorial. That's marks of good programs. And that's a great thing to see those 2 programs turn it around so quickly in just a short season. But I agree with you too. Girard is in a case too where they pretty much, I'm pretty sure, just brought guys back, and these guys just worked their tails off in the offseason and got that much better.
Thomas Cardero, Gus Johnson, they were still on the team last year. It's just that they've been improved, and they are well improved. My word, is Girard very impressive team this year.
Hey, they absolutely are. And I mean, that NE8 is going to be so much fun the second half of the season. But just to go back to that Struthers game right now, and I've been saying it all season, you can't take them out of the fight until someone beats them, and someone in the NE8 has yet to beat them.
Southeast cooled off Brookfield. Remember, the Warriors scored 80-plus points in their last game, but last night, Southeast, their defense was too much. 56-38, they beat the Warriors in Brookfield.
Credit to Coach Matizzi over there with Southeast, though. As not a member of our school, but I do love the Matizzi family. I think they all do a fantastic job. And Southeast Pirates are a team that is kind of in my neck of the woods down here in Portage County, and they're a team that they're exactly one of those teams. They kind of remind me of like Crestview and what we hear everyone say about them, where they just have athletes everywhere. They always seem to be good in every sport that they participate in. They don't have too many down years, and I mean that was the case again with this one. I mean, Southeast has a good basketball program, and also Brookfield, not the best offensive night for them. You're going to have those nights too, but Southeast took advantage and they got a victory for it.
Yeah, and to talk about that Matizzi coaching tree. Oh, there's Coach Matizzi.
Matizzi's and then Pavlansky's are plentiful.
They're everywhere.
Everywhere. Matizzi's and Pavlansky's. You're going to find them all over the place.
You'll look at Heartland Christian. They got the 2-point win over St. Thomas Aquinas. That was a game that we were teetering on, obviously for good reasons. A very close matchup. We both picked the right side of it, though, as the Lions come away with the win.
I'm glad you jumped over on the ship with me for this one too.
Are you glad? Because you could have gained the game on.
I could have gained a point, but I'm glad you rep the YSN school and you roared like a lion with me, because I mean, you talk about Heartland Christian, especially being at home for that holiday classic. This is a good win for them too. And you know what? This is a Heartland Christian team as well, where everyone was kind of talking about them early on in the season. Are they really as good as the record indicates because of the teams they play? And of course, they lost that one game to Jackson Milton, and I think everyone started. Everyone that's not a Heartland Christian member or part of that community or part of the school kind of started saying, "Oh, there's the writing on the wall. They can't compete." But since that game, this is a Heartland Christian team that has looked so good, including big wins over teams such as Lowville in the season. This is a team, and Jonathan Berdovich, as we call him, Johnny Buckets here.
Johnny Buckets.
Absolutely stellar. And you know what? Coach Scott doing a great job over there with Heartland Christian, and another great win to add to their belt. These are the wins where, you talk about you're going to get into a close game eventually in a basketball season. If you're going to be competitive, that's just the nature of it. And coming out on top of close games certainly helps build momentum, but it certainly also helps build that experience for these teams going later on in the season. And they need wins like this. So this is a good one for Heartland Christian to pick up.
So you'll look at it, and I like how you laid it out. I mean, the Heartland Christian, they lost that game to Jackson Milton on the buzzer beater. And I felt like that could have been a hinge point of their season, how they bounced back from that. Because that was a game, like we talked about with Springfield, talent-wise on paper, Jackson Milton lost so much from last year. You might think that the casual fan might think Heartland should win that game. And then they go into Jackson Milton and they lose on a buzzer beater. Aaron Romine, props to you. You won Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley because of that.
And a number change too. He had a different number on that night that he was wearing it, and he changed his number to that permanently the night that he hit the buzzer beater. He had a different number. I don't remember the numbers, but I know he changed his number to that.
He was number 2 last year. I think he was 4 that night.
Yeah, and I think whatever it was, if it was 4 that night, that's what he's permanently changed his number to. I can't remember the number, but yeah, like I said, he changed his number permanently after that shot.
So then, and then they lose to a Badger team that is just big as far as size. And it was a very competitive game, if I remember correctly. The score was like 71-65, somewhere around there. So those are their 2 losses on the year. But, like you said, wins against Lowville, big win. A big win against St. Thomas Aquinas to win their own tournament. Heartland Christian does win that tournament, by the way, with the 2 wins. It's impressive.
8-2 on the season, and any coach will take you winning 80% of your games right now. And I mean, I don't care who your opponents are night to night. Sometimes you could say, yeah, these are opponents you should beat, but you still got to go out there and actually beat them too. And that's a big thing. And you look at that too. I mean, just the wins they've been able to pile up has been impressive. They got another one though coming up in the new year, a couple of them, as it looks like JFK and Columbiana are on the docket, and how they perform in those games, I think, are going to be really telling on how far this team really can go this season.
Want to give a major shout out to Edison. They got their first win of the year on the boys' side of things. They win 46-35 over East Palestine. Big win for the Wildcats.
Yeah, props to Coach Maddox and the Wildcats over there for getting win number 1 on the season. And we know when you go through down years too, it's all about just getting that confidence and just finding something to build upon. And this might be that first brick that they could lay down in the foundation to start building that program up and get back to being competitive again.
And I will say, this is their first win. But remember, like the first couple games we saw, the scores were extremely lopsided. It was like 86-14, 85-13. And then all of a sudden, the next scores we started getting in got more and more competitive as the season went on. It's almost like this team is actively learning as the season goes. And I think when you're working hard like that, getting a win is so important, because then it shows the kids a tangible evidence that their hard work is paying off and that they are getting something for their hard work. It's hard to keep telling a kid, keep working hard, when you keep going out there and the results aren't coming.
Look at the football team for Edison just a year ago
yeah.
comparative to this season. It's a community that knows how to adjust.
Remember, 2 years ago, Edison football 0-10. Last year in the COVID weird season, they had 3 wins. This year, look what they had. I believe 7.
Yeah, and I mean, it just shows that these kids in this community of Edison work hard. They put the work in to get better, and that's something that any coach is going to love. And I mean, we know, unfortunately, the passing of John Madden, but one of his quotes too, and one of his rules too, where you show up on time and you work your butt off. And it seems like that's the kind of mentality that Edison has taken up too, not just from the football realm, but for all sports realms too. And if they continue that too, you're going to see that turn eventually happen in basketball as well. And this might be that first brick that lays down the foundation for Edison.
We go from that to LeBray. The Vikings had a big lead going into the fourth quarter, had to hold on after a Badger rally. They win 53-50 over Badger.
Yeah, the Badger rally. The Braves were stopped up just short, and credit the Vikings for holding them off. But heck of an effort by Badger to try to rally back in that one. That's another mark of a good team. But LeBray doing just enough to escape with a victory, and that's going to be a good victory for them come the end of the season, as they need those ones, those close victories. Like I said prior to, close victories are really good for experience-wise going into tournament time. And really, when you have a team like that that's having that hot hand trying to make the comeback, can you play the clock? Can you manipulate the clock enough while being aggressive enough? Because that's the biggest thing we see with these teams and coaching-wise is when you are up by 20, right? It's not in that realm where it's technically a blowout yet, because I've seen plenty of 20-point comebacks and 20-point swings. I've seen plenty of 15-point swings too. The thing that coaches, I feel like you kind of have to balance out very well is how much time are we burning with each possession, and are we getting good looks on each possession? Because you want to find that balance of being aggressive too, to where you're still putting up points, keeping them at bay, but you don't want to get too standoffish on offense, saying, okay, we just need to burn clock to win this game. It's a fine balance that you need to do to get wins, and LeBray happened to do so last night.
Yeah, Badger turned up the pressure. It put on a full court press, forced a lot of live ball turnovers that really helped them get back into the game. LeBray was up by 11 after 3 quarters. They were up by 12 at halftime, but they were able to hold on and win 53-50. So another big win for LeBray. And Laura McCoy, once again, one of the best scorers in the area.
Yeah, as it's going to be exciting and interesting to see how they continue to adjust throughout the season.
Exactly. We move on to more scores as we go from LeBray to East Liverpool. They got the big win over Beaver Local, 44-41 in the Potter Fieldhouse.
Little bit of revenge too at that as well, because you look at it and East Liverpool now has a win in the boys side and win in the girls side, and Beaver Local has 1 win on the girls side right now. So East Liverpool kind of getting the lead right now on the basketball side of things, but good win for the Lady Potters, and just like the one that happened in Beaver Local. And like you said, Anthony, when you have rivalries like this, it's only right that they split. But both games, both the Beaver Local one and East Liverpool, at Beaver Local and at East Liverpool, were both very close games, and the home team just pulled it out both times. This time it went to the Lady Potters.
This was a game that meant a lot for both programs, for more than just a rivalry, because they were honoring the late coach J.R. Walker, who coached both teams at one point in his career. He passed away in October. Both teams were able to honor him with great basketball. East Liverpool able to honor him with the home win. So we send our thoughts to, of course, everyone that was thinking about him last night, and it was a great night for both teams. You can head over to ysnlive.com but you can head over to ysnlive.com. Check out the story. There's a picture at the bottom that was shared by East Liverpool of both teams coming together for a great group picture with a couple of memorials of Coach Walker in the middle. So you can see that on ysnlive.com. By the way, some stats from that game. Shayla Foster led the Potters with 17 points. And then Aaliyah Parson was also in double figures with 11, as Ansley Galerio chipped in with 7. Galoti chipped in with 7. Beaver Local, they were led by Peyton Roberts. She had 16 points. Haley Jordan had 12. She was also in double figures. East Liverpool back in action on Monday. They bring in the new year by traveling to Indian Creek. Beaver Local will also have Indian Creek next on their schedule because they host them on Thursday. So both teams have Indian Creek up next, just a couple of days apart.
Yeah, as both of them will have Indian Creek on the docket, and it'll be interesting to see as both of them have a similar opponent, how each one adjusts now, one coming off of a win, one coming off of a loss.
An old school rivalry in the ITCL. Two teams met again as Springfield passed their non-conference test as the girls beat United 59-48, and they remain very impressive on this season.
Props to United, though, because, I mean, United kept it very close against a very good Springfield team as well.
By the way, that's another Coach Matisse down there getting another win.
Yeah, Coach Matisse's were ruling the night, but that is a big win, nice win for Springfield, but a good performance nonetheless from United as they look really good in that EOAC against one of the finer teams out of that Scarlet side of the MVAC.
Yeah, and look at this. J.C. Mullen, 33 points for the Tigers to lead.
Big nights like that certainly gets you looks for big dog honors, as that is a huge performance to get a big victory for the Lady Tigers.
He's already been on once, but that might have to put her on again. I mean, it's hard to look past a 33-point performance.
No doubt at all. And when you're putting up 30-some points on offense in any given night, you're really helping contribute to your team's victory. So congrats to her.
I feel like one of those old J.C. Penney commercials. J.C. Mullen, where your dreams come true.
She gives you a little bit more than a penny, though, on offense.
There you go. There you go. United, they were led by a very strong performance from Taylor Cope, who had 20 points on the night. Also in double figures for the Eagles was Madison Kibler with 11. The Eagles will look ahead to, still be a very good contender in the EOAC. And this is what I have to say about United. No one in the EOAC is putting together a schedule like they are. Hands down, they are not afraid to go play Poland. They're playing Ursuline later this year as well. Name another EOAC team that's doing that.
Especially like the thing we talk about too with the EOAC, football, basketball, it doesn't matter what sport. These are all lower division teams. This is probably one of the conferences with a lot of I think almost all of them are D4 in basketball, and a good majority of them are either D7 or D6 football wise too. So you look at that and you see that the pool of competitors and the pool of Division 4 teams that they could play and, still be competitive and still go into that Division 4 tournament with a good record. But they say no to that. They go up and they play their Division 3, their Division 2 schools, and competing against them too. And that's the most impressive thing I think about United, and building that schedule like that. Yeah, you might not see them in the tournament, but playing those D2 and D3 schools will certainly prepare you for a lot of D4 schools that you will see.
This shows me, and I believe United actually is D3 in girls basketball, if I'm not mistaken.
They might be. Like I said, I know it's a lot of lower divisions in the EOAC.
This shows me that United has bigger plans than just a district championship, because they're exposing themselves to teams that are equal to what they'll see in a regional if they get that far past district. You play a Salem, you play a Poland, you play an Ursuline. That is talent that you will see in the regionals, and you have to know what to expect, expose yourself to it as much as possible, and they're doing that. They're not going to be surprised when they come up against a team that can run some of the stuff that Poland, Salem, and Ursuline can run.
And that's the most important thing, is just getting yourself prepared for it. I think is absolutely important. And I think if these girls continue to compete with these good teams, it's only a matter of time before they start turning it around and turn those L's into W's. And
you come in to this game, and the one thing I think Coach Sigler is going to tell his team is the scouting report has to be more respect. I mean, you come into Springfield and you say, who's the one player that can't beat us? And it's J.C. Mullen. Absolutely. She's a stud. She's a superstar. You can't let her drop 33 and expect to win. It's just, I don't know how much of her points were quote unquote well earned and how much were open looks and things like that. But if you're United, one of the things that you have to realize and you have to come across when you're playing these bigger teams and you're playing the teams that you're going to see in regionals, most of them are going to have that one girl that can go off for 30 plus if you let her. So you got to make sure whatever it takes, you don't let that one person beat you. You're muted.
If you're stopping one player from beating you, I think that's the most important thing. And looking at just the entirety of all the teams that make it to state championships or make deep playoff runs, they have that one player that at least one player that if you need them to go off for 20 in any given night, they can. And I think, like you said, if as long as you could play damage control and force it to other people, force other players to beat you too. And I mean, I understand that's the mark of a lot of teams. They want balanced scoring, but you can't, like you said, you can't let one player put up over half the points of offense on you and expect to get wins like that.
If JC Mullen scores 20, United wins this game. And 20 is a good night. So, and look, Springfield has other girls that can beat you. I mean, Maddie Lesnick is a great scorer. Jamaica Brungard is coming on real strong. She can score pretty well. So I'm not saying that like it's all the JC Mullen show, and if you stop her, you Tigers can't beat you. But what I'm saying is when you come into a game against Springfield, you say this girl is not beating us, and if these other girls beat us, we tip the hat, and they're good players too. They can definitely score. But this one cannot beat us. And that's what that's probably the scouting report on Springfield. You're muted again, by the way.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, if United is playing good defense like that and they're doing all-around scoring, they're going to be just fine, I think, this season.
Yeah, like I said, they play like that against most of the teams on their EOAC schedule. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. We look to other scores across the night, and we have – I think that was actually it. We only had 9 games. Oh, no, West Branch. Sorry, West Branch boys. They were able to beat Ravenna, and the final score there was 64-45. Drew DeShields puts on a show. He finishes the game with 26, and Jackson Hendershot finishes with 10.
I mean, West Branch is one of those teams that, I mean, day in and day out, they always look so good, and they're always continuing to get better. And Coach Brown doing such a great job over there as the Warriors pick up another win, too, as they were quite literally facing the team from just my backyard last night, and they got a win over them.
And West Branch will go into 2022 undefeated. They will return to action on Tuesday as they travel to Canton South for an EBC matchup. They get back to their league after a couple of non-conference games.
And it's the conference games that are going to mean the most for them at the end of the season. So as long as they continue to stay competitive, I think they're going to be just fine.
Another score for you here as Matthews was able to beat Heartland Christian 57-48 on the girls' side of basketball.
And another impressive win there as just looking at all this grand scope of things too, as before the end of the season, just trying to get some good wins before conference play opens up for a lot of these teams coming the new year, because now they're going to have to hit the ground running. And yeah, not that these games weren't important, but these non-conference games are fun. They're exciting. They're new matchups that we get to see, but conference games mean that much more, and wins or losses, you hang your hat on them that much harder.
Back to the boys' side, Louisville really tested themselves as they went up to North Canton Hoover, one of the powerhouses of Division I, and they lost by 1 point, 31-30. The Leopards fall their second loss of the year. They are, I believe, 7-1 against. They're 7-2 overall, 5-1 against Division I opponents.
Doing a great job over there as Coach Siegfried and all of the Leopards, both on boys and girls side too, as Coach Kudo coaches the girls side. But this is a great community and a great basketball program, and it has been for so many years, and both teams looking to be very successful this year. Dropping a tough one, though, is Louisville, but I have no doubt in my mind they'll be able to bounce back.
Both boys and girls programs with tough losses to close out the season, close losses against good teams, as the girls lost Wednesday night to Green, and now the boys lose last night to Canton Hoover. Some other results from last night that I want to get to as far as outside of basketball. I do want to give a congratulations to – let me get in. I want to get this name right. Excuse me as I – congratulations to Fitch Wrestler Tyler Lintner, who got his 100th career win for Austintown Fitch Wrestling.
Yeah, Fitch has always had a good wrestling program there as well. So another impressive wrestler coming from the ranks of the Falcons with 100 win total now on his career. And that definitely should be something we talk about with Gary Alsizer next Wednesday about the significance of 100 wins in a career and how really important and how special that is too from the mind of a wrestling coach and someone that's been around the sport as much as Gary has. And
something we were going to talk about with Gary on Wednesday, but his segment got pushed to next week, but I want to draw attention to. Dakota McCracken becomes the first female wrestler in United's program to win a tournament in high school, and she goes 4-0 on the day over the weekend. All matches winning by a pin. Last year, she was the first female wrestler in United's program history to win by a pin, and now she becomes the first female wrestler in United program history to win in a tournament, as she goes 4-0 in that tournament to win it.
Yeah, I mean, congrats to her too, and congrats, I mean, to the entire program for having someone in there that's so successful, that's kind of leading the charge and blazing the trail for other female wrestlers that want to go into this sport. Like I said, blazing that trail for others to follow now. And you know what? That is a great question to talk with about Gary too. And I mean, if maybe not necessarily that he doesn't have any personal experiences with it, but there's gotta be. Obviously, just wrestling a girl is going to be different, but you gotta take into account the flexibility. I mean, there's a lot more that I feel like. I mean, you got to use strategy wise, just like anyone in weight classes. But I mean, usually or typically too, these girls are more flexible, and it's interesting to see because it might be one of those where he talks about those lighter weights where you just see them constantly going with high engines and high motors. So I'm kind of curious to talk with Gary about that as well. A lot of wrestling news going on this week.
Yeah, that'll be next Wednesday. One of the things we're going to talk about is girls in wrestling, the development of what it has come to. I remember a time when it was kind of taboo to have a girl on your wrestling team, and now all of a sudden it's become common nature, which is progress. And we'll talk to Gary about that and what he thinks about the progress the sport has made and what he sees from female wrestlers in the area. There are a couple of them that are pretty good.
What I'm personally curious about, because what you talked about with it being taboo for so long, I feel like for the longest time the reason it's taboo, it's like because if you wrestle them, you're technically and that's the biggest thing. And what Gary said too, it's more about control and it's not fighting, as like he said too. It's not fighting, but I mean that I feel like that's where a lot of the mentality came from, is that they don't want to be fighting with a girl, and if they lose, they don't want to lose to a girl. I think
it's a lose-lose situation, man.
I feel like for a lot of guys, it was a lose-lose situation. Obviously, times are changed. There's a lot different mentalities, but I'm curious to talk with Gary about that too. If those mentalities have changed, and if it's coaches' efforts that have helped lead that charge in changing the mentality for these guys.
I think the biggest mentality that's changed is now when anyone looks across the ring and sees a female opponent or whatever their opponent, they are wrestling an athlete, not a female or a male.
That's the most important thing.
That's an opposing athlete. You know what I mean? So
it just goes back to what we talk about with any sport. And I mean, whether it's single and it's just yourself or it's a team sport, you got to respect your opponent. At the end of the day, it just comes down to respecting your opponent. And you do that in any sport that you're in, whether male or female, that's the right way to go about it. Is you need to respect every opponent, regardless of record, regardless of capabilities, because we've seen plenty of teams and plenty of even single competitors that have come up and surprised some people too. So I think it all just comes down to the simple fact that people just need to respect their opponent. And I think we've gotten that a lot more over the course of the years too. And I mean, women's sports in general too have been a huge part, I think, in leading that charge. And I think just girls basketball, just talking about it from a basketball perspective, in the last 10 years has changed so drastically, I think, as just far as the number of athletes that we're seeing, that these things that these female athletes are able to do now are truly incredible. And I mean, just seeing the participation numbers go up in all kinds of women's sports. This is a good thing for sports, especially at the high school level, seeing a lot of female athletes starting to get involved at such a young age.
Can't wait to have a deeper conversation about that next Wednesday with Gary at Wrestling Wednesdays. Look forward to that. For now, we will take our first break of the day. And when we come back, we will start our 2021 reflection and talk about some of our favorite moments on YSN throughout the year. And we'll hopefully get some of your takes on that too. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends: shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the four words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and in Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell. Ty, before we get to our New Year's kind of reflection and celebration of 2021, there is one more result that I kind of want to get to because, hey, I don't want to leave out the bowlers in the world, and we got some stats from the Howland girls bowling team that finished fourth in the Edward Zitnick tournament in Hubbard. They shot, well, in the first round that qualified them for the final round of the Baker's roll. Lexi Forte shot a 155. Courtney Clark, who we know very well from volleyball, bowled a 154. The Tigers bowled a 659 as a team in that first round that qualified them for the final round. Boardman ended up winning the tournament, and Howland's next matchup will be against Austintown Fitch next week at Amron Lanes.
And from my understanding too, Fitch has a decent bowling team this year too. So I mean that should be an interesting one too. As I've actually only seen, I think, a bowling competition like that maybe like 2 times, and it's very. I mean, for someone that is not good at bowling, in myself, I'm always impressed with everyone that is.
I dove deep into all this. Like, I didn't know all these ways a tournament can go, like a Baker's, and I was like, what the heck is all this and the way they count stuff. But I remember last year when the YSU women's bowling team went to the Final Four, and everyone was super excited about that opportunity. I really dove in because I wanted to watch the results, and I was like, I need to learn how to read results. I need to learn what I'm looking for. So that was when I kind of really dove deep into kind of trying to understand what these scores mean and how good they are. 659 as a team in the first round, and 155, 154, pretty good for high school bowlers, and that was good enough to qualify again for that final round. Boardman wins the tournament in Hubbard, the Edward Zitnick tournament. But Howland versus Fitch this week, Amron Lanes. Maybe we should get some bowling interviews on Running Point. I would never say no to learning more about bowling.
I'd certainly love to learn more about it too, because it's something that I'm not completely in the dark about, but admittedly, like I probably couldn't go down and give you the entire breakdown, but it's definitely something I could definitely read up on and everything. I have seen, like I said, a couple of.
You have a photographic memory. It's not fair.
Yeah,
you have to read something once, and you're an expert on it.
Yeah, I'll get it down. But no, just looking at it, I've seen a couple of bowling matches, and they could get pretty exciting too. And it's pretty fun too, because it's interesting because you're always just at a regular bowling lane, so it's always kind of almost relaxed atmosphere. You're kind of
Right.
just hanging out. You're
Not
kind of
because
chilled out.
there's so much at stake.
Yeah, but there's so much that's going on. I love the atmosphere that it presents when you do see competitions like that and when you do see bowling matchups like that. I love that atmosphere. It's so kind of laid back, but so intense at the same time.
And we have had bowling on YSN, so it's not something that we have not covered. We've definitely broadcasted bowling before, mostly with Struthers. They help us out with their bowling broadcasts, but we've definitely put a camera in the lanes.
We love to as well, and we're always looking to get as much coverage as we can throughout the season. And don't worry, bowling, I'm sure we'll be in there as well.
My knowledge of team bowling before last year basically came from that Disney Channel original movie Alley Cat Strike, and that's it.
That's it. That's where your knowledge was at.
That's where it was. I knew that, and that's all I knew. So glad to learn a little bit more about it last year, and glad to expand our coverage of it this year as we continue on this journey called Running Point into the new year. But that's a perfect segue to talk about what the year that was. Last day of 2021, we kind of reflect a lot of memories on YSN and YSN family throughout the year. Ty, how do we want to start this conversation?
I mean,
just want to start at the beginning of the year and say one of my favorite memories, and then just keep going throughout the year and try to be chronological.
Yeah,
I can't remember when stuff happens.
we could try to do that if we want to do that. Start all the way back in January of 2020.
I'll tell you the when I go back to last basketball season, but the second half of it. Because obviously the most exciting game I did last year, in my opinion, was the South Range Hoban overtime game on the girls' side. But I'm pretty sure that happened in 2020. So we go to my first recollection of a game that happened, and I know it happened in 2021. Poland versus West Geauga, district semifinal, and Mary Brandt hits a quarter court shot at the buzzer to send Poland into overtime against West Geauga and eventually get the win to head to the district championship. They eventually win the district championship, but that shot from a freshman was very incredible, coming off of a steal of an inbounds pass. I mean, West Geauga had the ball. They were up 3. It seemed like Poland was dead in the water. They had maybe 5 seconds to work with, and Mary Brandt stole the inbounds pass, ran down the court and shot a very deep 3. I don't. It wasn't half court, but it definitely wasn't at the line either, and just drilled it to send that game into overtime. And that was a great call.
That certainly is something. Oh man, there are so many things that happen in the course of this year that I've seen walk-off winners in every single sport. Every single sport I've seen a walk-off.
I know, that's why we have to kind of compartmentalize.
I know what you're saying.
Ty, we have to start with the second half of last year's basketball season. That way we know that it happened in January and February.
And for me, I feel like second half basketball season, the one that happened prior, and I don't know if it was in January, but I definitely know it occurred in that second half of the basketball season. The first walk-off, well, not the first one I ever called, because the first one I ever called was a few years ago at Fitch. My first game on YSN was a walk-off basketball winner. So, I mean, go figure. Literally game number 1 DJ next to me, I called a walk-off winner on basketball. But for me,
I think I remember that.
But for me, and obviously Springfield faithful, you're gonna be upset at me for bringing this one up, but Matt Bird,
it's the Sebring,
clinching that game for them. Corner 3, fade away, knockdown, 1-point victory, upset the Springfield Tigers. And at that point too, Springfield and McDonald were tied for first place in the NBAC. Yeah. They were gonna win co-winners. That game took Springfield out of the running and gave McDonald sole possession and sole win.
Remember, I feel like I could be wrong. If I'm wrong and someone knows, let me know in the comments. I feel like that game came before the second matchup between Springfield and McDonald. And that game kind of took out any hope that Springfield could tie up the MVAC with a win over McDonald.
See, I think it actually was reversed. I think Springfield had just beaten McDonald a couple of days prior. I think the Sebring game was the last game on the docket, and it was at Sebring. So it was go big or go home. And Sebring was playing spoiler that night, and they did. They were able to play spoiler because I was at the game prior too, because I think they finished the season out McDonald, Waterloo, Sebring, and I called the Waterloo Springfield game, and that one was close, but Springfield pulled that one out too. Kyle Shockley went off that night, but Springfield ultimately pulled off the victory. And then going into that one, Matt Bird, like I said, the hero of the night, and he was the hero, and I mean he will go down in Sebring lore. I certainly won't ever forget his name, as that was definitely one of the biggest and coldest shots I've ever seen someone take.
Do you remember Ursuline's buzzer beater against East last year?
I remember. I didn't remember seeing it, but I remember hearing about it. I remember a lot of traction. Well, actually, no, I do remember it because I think who was on the call for it? Ian was. That's it. I do remember that one. Then I do remember seeing it.
Honestly, it was my favorite video clip of the basketball season because Ian, for that year at Ursuline, for some reason, I don't know why he wasn't up in the balcony like most people are when they're doing a basketball game at Ursuline, but Ian was in the middle of the stands, and you could just see out of the side of the camera, everyone start to storm the court after that shot went in, and it was such a cool look because Ian is right in the middle. I hope he didn't get stampeded, but it was like shot goes up, Ian freaks out, it goes in, and then all of a sudden you just see these people just storm past the camera to the camera's left onto the court to storm the team.
Another one for me, if we're going to stay in basketball season, playoffs, and I think it was regional finals, Waterloo versus Cardinal Mooney, boys basketball for me. And you know what? Those are a couple of sweetheart schools, but again, this was a game, I think it went into overtime. It did go into overtime. And then Michael Pellini, oh man, step back, fadeaway three, knocked it down to send Mooney into the next round and gave Mooney the win over Waterloo that night. And that was such an impressive game too. And how Michael Pellini just so confident shooting the ball all night. And he ended it. He said ball game at the end of it, walked right down court, little step back three, bang. Oh man, what a shot by Pellini, and what a game that was too, that sent Mooney into the next round.
I hate to go back to Poland, but and use two Poland things for basketball, but also when I got to call Jackie Grisdale's becoming the all-time leading scorer in program history, and then 5 days later called Ken Grisdale's 500th win. That was a cool moment. That was just a cool week for both sides of Poland basketball.
I'm right there with you, going to Fitch now, to my first true love, Todd Simons, getting a chance to call him in that basketball season and his final basketball season, and watching him break the all-time Fitch record and scoring a record that stood for 50-some years at that high school is absolutely incredible. Only 3,000-point scorers ever in Fitch history, and both the other two occurred in like the 50s and 60s, and Todd Simons is the one that finally broke that mold for Fitch Falcons basketball. And it was truly an impressive moment too. And I think, just speaking on people that break all-time records, I think that was the only one I recall seeing this season, but boy, was it an impressive one at that.
Milestones, I was Ed Jackson Milton. It wasn't a milestone. It was the game before milestone. So excuse me. It was one where I was told before the game, hey, so-and-so might break 1,000 points. He needed like 23, he got 19, so we knew he was going to break it the next game. We got our photographer there. It was great. But in that game that I was at, it was Western Reserve Jackson Milton. And I'll never forget, because I'm shutting down the broadcast. I'm doing my outro, giving out the player of the game. And Jackson Milton won. And all of a sudden, I see the AD like go into the closet and pull out this giant cardboard box and start walking it out to the middle of the court. And I'm like, what is going on? I better stay on this broadcast, because something's happening. Something cool is happening. I didn't know it was a trophy game. It's totally cool. Like all of a sudden, AD whips out this trophy and it stays at Jackson Milton. Everyone starts going nuts. The Western Reserve fans, they're leaving in kind of a tizzy. It was a very unexpected but fun atmosphere to all of a sudden be a part of that. It was my first encounter with that rivalry and knowing how big that rivalry is now.
I got to see that rivalry up close and personal, boys basketball side in the playoffs last year, or this year, I should say, and ultimately Jackson Milton did pull off the close one. Coach Procopio and AJ Bouch was able to.
That kid's a monster.
He was an animal down low, and he could shoot the ball pretty well, and he was definitely the X factor in the victory. But staying in Jackson Milton, another milestone. I saw Jacob Portalese from McDonald got his 1,000 points at Jackson Milton, and I was part of that McDonald team that literally. You might as well just have a meteorologist on that team because they were raining in threes every single night. It was one of the most impressive shooting teams I've seen lower division wise, probably in a long time in the area, as far as just 5 guys all on starters that can knock them down. And then you had about 3 deep that can knock them down. And Coach Franciscelli still implements that, and they pop off on the wings and they still aren't afraid to shoot the 3. But last year's team, just all around. And Jacob Portalese was one of those guys. If you ever felt like someone was automatic, and that night when he scored 1,000, he had over 40 points in that game. And I've never seen someone where it felt more automatic from 3. I think he hit like eight triples that night. It was absolutely stunning to watch him play.
I loved getting to call a regional game in basketball last year because the year before, so it was the 2020 regionals, we weren't given permission to go down to Cuyahoga Falls and broadcast the game because that was the COVID year and everyone kind of just was doing their own thing. They had their own broadcast or whatever. So then in this season, we were able to go down and I was able to broadcast regional basketball, and South Range won the first regional game. And that was an exciting moment to you be able to call like South Range being one step away from state.
And speaking of state, too, we got to acknowledge the girls basketball team there, too.
I was going to go off of that and saying because South Range and McDonald were staggered and they were playing on different days, after calling that game, I got to go watch McDonald win their regional semifinal in Massillon Perry, and then eventually go and watch them win the regional final in Massillon Perry and go to state.
And watching that McDonald girls basketball team on the big show and the big hardwood, and watching them play for the state title, that was that. And we've had representation in every single one. And just watching the Howards be able to take it. Unfortunately, it wasn't the result we wanted, but still, I think you look at all the seasons, girls basketball wise, you can't take away that from McDonald. They were the most impressive, and I think for just us in this area to have a team go to state where this area doesn't get a whole lot of basketball recognition, I think it really opened some people's eyes and said that Northeast District has some ballers too.
Yeah, and really, it's funny how close McDonald and Western Reserve really were, especially in the regular season. The tournament game wasn't close. McDonald ran away with the tournament game, but in the regular season, I mean, it was a rivalry for the years between Molly Howard, Maddie Howard, and then all on the other side, Volatich, Kennedy Miller, the superstars of both those teams, and the senior classes just kind of traveling with each other, going blow for blow. And then one year, McDonald won the regular season, but Western Reserve knocked him out of the tournament. The next year, it was the opposite way, and then the last year, I think McDonald won all 3 matchups, won both regular season matchups close, and then ran away with the tournament matchup.
Well, why don't we each give us one more memory so that way we can go 15 minutes for every season. So we'll go baseball, softball next for 15, and then we'll talk football, volleyball to close out for the final, for the last.
One more basketball one.
One more basketball one. There's a lot to choose from that I want to talk about too. Personally, that I've seen and ones that I wasn't at. But you know what? I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with just Struthers last year. And the reason I want to recognize that team for going undefeated in the regular season and just how impressive that team was and how impressive I got to see him a couple of times, but I tell you what, if I ever saw a fight for people wanting to go see Struthers on the road because they had the home games locked down, it felt like that was it. They were the show, and Trey Metzger was a show everyone wanted to see. And just that Struthers team last year, for a community that is so loving of their squads and is so supportive of basketball over there, just watching that team in that beautiful field house be so successful last year, I think it was something very, very impressive. And it's just something I wanted to throw nods out to before we end our basketball talks.
This is more of a moment than a call or an in-game moment. And I want to preface it by saying the result did not go the way that we wanted it to at YSN. But I remember we weren't able to broadcast the Poland District Championship against Marlington. But I was there. I was taking pictures. And I remember at the same time, Salem was playing Perry. And they were separate districts, so the winners would play in regionals. Poland started a little bit earlier, so they won against Marlington. They knew they were going to Barberton. And they would play the winner of Salem versus Perry, which was happening, I believe, in Perry, because everyone hosted that year. And, after all the celebrations and everything, I'll never forget, Nick Blanche is a competitor, but at the end of the day, he wants this area to succeed. Like he cares about the programs in this area. He wants to see as many programs in this area succeed as possible. So it was me and the Poland coaching staff, Kim Grisdale and Chris and Brian Garkar. We're sitting there all on my little iPhone, which was smaller than the one I have now. It was back when I had the 7. So we're sitting there like this. And we're watching the Salem game, and we went nuts when Salem took the lead late. Like we were emphatically rooting for Salem to win this game, and then we were all just so like degraded when Perry hit that buzzer beater to beat Salem, and we wanted that matchup so bad. I know Nick Blanche and everybody kind of wanted to see, like I said, area success so badly, and getting that little moment where we're all huddled around a phone after Poland gets the win, and we're all watching this little basketball game, and we're emotionally invested in how that game went.
Yeah, that was truly a special moment. And basketball season, especially in the second half, beginning of 2021, was something truly special.
Segues in. I love the camaraderie between programs in the basketball realm that we had. Like, I feel like there's almost no bad blood between any coaches in the area. Like every coach seems like, especially in the rivalries, really, really respect each other and want the others to succeed when they're not playing them, obviously.
And you love to see it too. And I think YSN also kind of helps with that too, bringing these kind of communities together as well. Looking at it now, I mean,
softball?
Baseball, softball. Luckily, here's how it kind of worked out too. You covered a lot of softball and I covered a good amount of baseball. So we kind of got both sides taken care of. So do you want to go first with the softball memory? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I mean, let's just start off with the start of the season and Lydia Spalding opening the year with a perfect game.
Absolutely. And
perfecto.
You open up the season against LeBray with a 5-inning perfect game. I mean, Lydia Spalding for the Lady Falcons was absolutely something special too. And the Spalding name is something special with Falcon Nation.
Take this time to wish Lydia good luck this year. She goes into the Big Ten playing for Penn State. One of the D1 athletes that we saw grace YSN for the season.
Yeah, it should be great. I'm excited to see what she's able to do. Sticking with Fitch, my first baseball memory, and it actually occurred early on in the season last year when I was calling the Falcons. It was against Boardman, and they were up big, I think 9-2, and Boardman led the charge in the 9th inning. Came all the way back, tied it up at 9 before Fitch was able to win it 10-9 in extras. But that was one of the more impressive comebacks I've seen all season, where a team with only 3 outs to go able to rally for 7 runs and work themselves back in it and draw it even with a Falcons team that had a commanding lead going into the 7th.
My first softball game I called was at South Range. And they opened the season with back-to-back home runs in the top of their lineup. Boom, boom. And that was how they kind of stamped that season, where they went all the way to the state championship game. They opened it up with a bang, back-to-back jacks to open the season against Garrettsville Garfield. That was pretty cool to see.
They were definitely impressive.
We'll hear more from them later, but
Yeah.
Starting with the beginning of the season.
I'll go with the beginning of the season too. Or I went with the beginning of the season too. So I hear you. Looking at it too, I mean, like Fitch was the team I primarily covered too. So there was a lot of regular season big wins for them too. But that Boardman game was one of the bigger ones. But you want to just talk about? I mean, I know I'm gonna have to skip a little bit, but I'll go both games too because I was on the color commentary for both games. JFK's run, their special run first in the semifinal too. That one was one where I think it was the last game that Hollabaugh pitched. Yeah, it was the semifinal because semifinal was the one because Schrum was the one that pitched the last game, the state championship. So yeah, and just watching that run and just having the opportunity to get on the call for those two games, and Alec Caberna was on it with me as well for both games.
You're jumping to the end.
Huh?
You're jumping to the end of the season.
I know I'm jumping to the end, but I mean, I had a lot to talk about, and this is one I don't want to forget about too, because this is I was also a big part of Bob Scene Park baseball, so I have a lot of things to talk about from that aspect too. But JFK, that run was so impressive too, because it was 11 guys, and pretty similar to what we're seeing with Jackson Milton and Waterloo girls basketball right now, but 11 Warriors on the field. You start 9 of them. You only have 2 guys on the bench, but you talk about guys from Alex DeSalvo to Cam Hollabaugh to Schrum. I mean, there's so many guys that were so talented on that team, and they're bringing a good majority back. Caleb Hadley, another one. Just watching those 2 games and watching how they were able to compete. Close games, both of them were too, but the pitching was absolutely impressive. And Cam Hollabaugh able to get that big win to send him to state. And then, I mean, closing out with a state title victory, that it was one of, if not the best, I think, Cinderella story that we've had on YSN the entire season. When you talk about 11 guys walk into a playoff and take it all the way to state, come back with some gold, that's impressive as all.
And the punchline is the state championship. Well, 11 guys walk into a state tournament,
and they walk out with a state championship.
Is the state championship. I'll just stay at the end for now, but I'll go back for a little bit.
We'll jump back and forth. We don't have to be as linear. We'll talk the season.
We got 50. How about that Canfield Salem baseball game? In
Lane Rhodes. We talking Lane Rhodes pitching performance in that one.
That game was wacky. Like, it had everything you expect from a game between 2 high caliber teams. It had wacky calls. It had a call that we spent about 50 minutes on Running Point discussing, because we each had different ideas of the way that call is interpreted, or the wording of what is a force play and what is a force out, and the difference between a force play and a force out per se. Is getting a runner going back to tag a force out? Yes. Is it a force play? I don't know. It was insane. And it was exactly what exactly what you would want from a game between 2 very good teams that are going to be good again this year.
Yeah, and I mean, Lane Rhodes was a dog in that one. He came out on top with the victory over a Canfield team that looked like world beaters. And I just want to give nods to that Canfield team. That'll be what I talk about next. That Canfield Baseball Club impressive. And they're going to bring back
everybody.
And if you weren't scared of them last year, you better watch out for them this year. I certainly, and I mean, I know Fitch is going to be good, but I don't envy the Falcons or anyone in the AAC that has to play Canfield. But no, props to the Cardinals and everyone that they have. There's a certain Giuliano, I think, that let off.
I think he might have led the state in batting average.
Yeah, only was getting on about half the time. It's absolutely ridiculous. Who gets on half the time in baseball? Over half the time too. Stupid, but crazy athlete. And we know Richie and that whole Giuliano family proud of him, and that is an incredible honor. Staying with that though, and talking about Lane Rhodes, we'll go over to his other team in the summer, and the Astro Falcons. I said I have a memory for that. Astro Falcons versus Post 33. Tim Quinn, see ya. Walk-off home run into the left field trees over on Bob Scene Field number 1 to give them the win 4-3. Impressive. The first and only walk-off home run I have ever called in my career as an announcer. So that was absolutely cool. I didn't see a whole lot of home runs. I think that might have been my first baseball home run that I've seen.
That's a prop to high school softball. You see a little bit more home runs. In high
Yeah.
school
Oh,
softball.
don't worry. Like baseball home runs, I that was the first one I saw. Softball home runs. I watched Fitch play Harding, and there was about 6 of them in that one in a softball season.
Speaking of softball home runs, Ian O'Brien went down to Louisville, and props to him for making that trip. I think it was on a weekday too. I don't think it was like a weekend. Like I made it a couple times on a Saturday. He made it on like a Wednesday. And I forget who they were playing, but I know they were down by a sizable run margin going into the 7th. And they came back and then capped it off with a walk-off grand slam. And Ian got to call it.
That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible to come back and walk off grand slam, let alone that happens 1 in a million times for you to be able to call that. That's really, really cool.
It was a Louisville team that was still very talented, but they lost so many pieces from that state championship team the season before. They showed it. They showed glimpses of stuff like that. I'm excited to watch them this year because they're returning most of those players that they had last year. So Louisville is going to be a good softball team. I'll tell you that much.
Anthony, I know you're already getting that itch for softball. We're about 3 months away right now
As soon
for
as
it.
Christmas is over, it's like, well, for college softball, it's like February starts. Like, let's go. Get through January and let's get to college softball, please.
We'll give you a little wink, all you Running Point fans out there. We'll have something in store for baseball, softball season. Don't worry.
When college softball starts, I might have like a game on the iPhone while we're doing Running Point. Like legit. Did it last year. No shame. I had like Georgia Tech was playing in the ACC tournament. I had none. I was like, I'm not missing this. Might just happen this year on Running Point.
As much as I do like the high school realm for baseball season, though, the final thing I want to talk about for our baseball softball discussion,
I think we have 5 more minutes, so yeah, we're good.
It's just Bob Scene Park in general and what Steve Leslie and all of his guys do down there for Bob Scene Park baseball. And another great season we've had, as it really is the thing that carries us through the summer. And you find some of the biggest quality teams, I think, because it's all-star teams essentially playing against each other. And I mean, for an entire shortened season, I think it's one of, if not the coolest leagues we have, not just in the northeastern part of the state, but the entire state of Ohio. And we have people and teams come from all over for some tournaments at Bob Scene Park. That's just how impactful and influential it was. And to talk about that too, I mean, just to look at the All-Star game that we were able to do with Richie Giuliano calling it, that was really cool. I was so happy that we were able to do a that kind of thing. You have one to talk about too. I'm sure you're excited to talk.
I got to coach an All-Star game, which just was I got ridiculed for taking it way too seriously, but I wanted to coach softball for so long. And DJ was like, "Do you want to coach this game?" I was like, "Yeah." And I drafted a team, and I had a lineup card, and I was like, "Hey DJ, are we gonna exchange lineup cards?" And he looked at me like so weird, like, "No, we're not." It was an exhibition game, but I took it way over the top serious, and we loved it. My team won, which yay to me. I loved spending time with all those players in the dugout, and my favorite moment of that whole game, Mackenzie Kerr from Waterloo. She's sitting there. She's a great player that I hadn't the chance to get to see live. Talking the dugout. Obviously, the other team has Bree Callow, who they have to play twice a year. And she's sitting here. She's telling me, I've never gotten a hit off this girl in my whole career. She's a senior. They're both seniors, so they played each other a lot. And I give her some advice. I'm like, hey, she's going to throw you a rise ball, and it's probably going to be on the outside corner. So, just stay off the high stuff, see it waist high and go off outside, try to hit it the other way. And I was so proud of this girl that I had never met before. And it was one of those moments where I go, I understand how coaches have a sense of pride in someone that they just get on their team, because that girl goes up to the plate. She's already 1 for 1 on the day against a different pitcher. And then Bree Callow comes up, who she had never gotten a hit off of in her high school career. And she laces a double the opposite way on a rise ball that's outside. And
It makes you feel proud. I've never been in that. I've never been in that kind of coaching seat, but I can't imagine just when you see it all play out through these kids too, when you see them finally act out all the teachings that you've tried to put in for it too, just for these long-term coaches, I gotta imagine there's a sense of pride. My final thing I'm going to talk about is going to be, again, another shout out. We go from Bob Seton Park baseball, but I also don't want to leave out our college team in YSU and what they were able to do. And the whole baseball season we were able to cover for that was absolutely fun. And I am so excited about our partnership with YSU baseball, getting a chance to follow them and seeing all those games from out of state down in LSU. That was so cool for YSN to be a part of.
Win in Houston, winning the series in Houston.
That was so much fun too, and I'm so happy with our partnership with YSU baseball, and that everything that we were able to experience here live on the network, thanks to our partnership and all the contributions of them as well.
Thanks to Richie Giuliano
carried the weight of that too, and he helped us out big time with that.
He will also be the voice of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers this summer as we get ready for our second year of partnership with them. Don't want to leave them out. We were so excited to have them for this season. We have them again as their season expands to more games this year, and kind of like the two halves of the season. They've kind of announced it where there's first half is what we saw last year, where it's going to be people trying to up their draft prospect, and then after the draft, which is where they kind of struggled last year. Everyone got drafted, teams got cannibalized, and that's where you saw a lot of baseball go down. So after the draft, they're expanding it a little bit to anyone.
Scrappers is more or less about development, and it's not about the wins and losses as much. And I mean, I know that's weird to say. They're still trying to win, but wins and losses aren't as important as developing these players.
The Scrappers are like an AAU basketball team. You go into tournaments, you definitely want to win, you definitely want to compete, but you are there to get yourself exposed. Like, that is the number one goal, to be on an AAU team. No matter what anyone said. I know AAU coaches, Quinn's probably looking at there like, no, we want to win. Of course you want to win. You're a competitor. You want to go, you want to win. And it's obviously more positive if your player that you're recruiting wins. But I think every player's main goal when they pay that money to be on an AAU team or a JO team in volleyball is to get themselves exposure.
Truthfully, I don't think wins and losses become the number one important thing until you make it to pros. Because honestly, I feel like even in the high school realm, coaches, yes, you're focused on winning and losing. I feel like that should be right under player development, because I feel like first and foremost, you're trying to get these players to get better, and you're trying to develop them, and I think that's the biggest thing. Did you have another memory you wanted to talk about?
I did. I can't go without the South Range run in softball. The regional that South Range went through was ridiculous. They had to beat Champion in the district championship game. And remember, Champion come off of 3 straight state championships, would have been 4th, but COVID kind of X'd the softball season, but whatever. So it would have been 4. I'll just go out and say it. They were returning 2 Division I pitchers. It would have been 4 straight. And then they beat them by 1. They go through, they win the next game, and then everyone wanted to see Ursuline South Range all year. It's the most anticipated softball matchup I've ever seen. And probably the most packed stadium for high school softball I've ever seen. That YSU softball complex was loaded with people.
I think I remember watching your clip of it too. The catch right on the warning track.
It was an amazing game, and Maris Barbado came like this far. Okay, it was like a step in front of the warning track. So this far as perspective when you're watching it on camera. This, whatever.
Yeah, I get you. Very close, though.
Very close is the point. He came very close to hitting a walk-off home run. Instead, freshman right fielder Matty Dato catches the ball to send South Range to the state semifinals. They win their semifinal game, but eventually lose in the state championship game. But I got to call every game in their tournament run, including their state championship game, which was just phenomenally fun. Anytime I get to call a game in the Akron Firestone Stadium, that was my home for so long in the summer when I was season ticket holders for the Akron Racers. So I got to call West Branch's regional games there with Alec Coburna, and then I got to call South Range's state games there as well. So awesome time when softball tournaments came around.
Absolutely, no doubt, as that was a fun part of the season, but it took us right into this part of the season, football and volleyball, and
We gotta take a break first. We gotta pay our bills.
We were a big part of it too, so we'll have a little bit more to talk about.
Let's segue into a break. We'll take our second break of the day, pay some bills, and we will be back with more of the 2021 reflections as we venture more into the late summer and early fall months of the year. We'll be back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Working with your family can be stressful at times, but because they're family, you know that you're going to get a loving, honest answer, even when things don't make sense to any problem. Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Jimmy Sudman here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell as we continue our 2021 reflections here on the last day of 2021, last Running Point show of the year. And we already kind of recapped everything we liked about last year's basketball season in the winter and last year's baseball, softball season. So many fun moments. And now we kind of venture into the late summer and fall months of this year, where we started Running Point in August. And what a whirlwind of 5 months? Five?
Including, previewing every football team and every volleyball team prior to the season is what we started off with. And have been kind of strong since. So talking about this, we're going to have football and volleyball to talk about as well, which is going to be very interesting because unlike the other sports, which are very similar, baseball and softball and boys and girls basketball, obviously even more similar yet, this is two completely different realms. So there's a lot of different memories to talk about. My first one, easy for me, Fitch versus Canton McKinley, DJ Williams in the big house of Pro Football Hall of Fame. 3 touchdowns on the ground and Fitch beating a big Canton McKinley team at the time. That was a great memory for me in that one.
I loved week 1 of this football season because there were so many anticipated matchups that people had been clamoring for like the last year. You don't know, like we got kind of almost to the point where we were annoyed at how many people were telling us that they wanted to see South Range and Springfield last year. In one of the bye weeks that they had, one of the off weeks, like everyone wanted them to schedule each other just to see those two teams collide, and they didn't last season. But this season they came in, they said week 1 we're going at it, and that was such an anticipated game. It ended up being pretty good. South Range ran away with it, but man, there were so many other big matchups in week 1. I felt like every rivalry almost got pushed to week 1 of the season.
Oh, absolutely. But even throughout, there were so many great games throughout the season in the football realm. And another one to just kind of talk about off the top of my head, I'm trying to think throughout the season and the games that I called. Jefferson getting a big one. I think it was over Edgewood, and that's one that they haven't won in years, in the last few years. And it was a big turning point for Jefferson trying to turn this program around. And that was a good win for them, generating some momentum.
I remember watching the last 2 Liberty games of the season, which were both heartbreakers for Liberty, but absolutely amazing football games to watch against teams that no one really gave them a chance to beat going into those games, with LeBray and Garrettsville Garfield, both of them going down to the absolute wire, and both of them coming up just short for the Leopards. But man, I think that was one of the I was on Liberty's bandwagon all year. I like what they were doing together with their young team, and I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with this year, bringing almost everybody back.
That was obviously a fantastic game. How can we not talk about the instant classic with West Branch and Salem, though, and everything that occurred in that game? If not one of the best football games to ever air on the network.
One of, if not the best catches I've ever seen on YSN.
Absolutely incredible. Highlight reel to a T.
And the interaction we got on Facebook where this wasn't a catch, and then like people would just put the picture of the YSN angle and be like, catch. I was like, that's our come to ESPN moment, because everyone takes the picture of an ESPN screenshot when they're arguing over whether a call was a call or not. Finally, someone was able to do that with YSN. Take the picture of the screen, because Salem has such great camera work for their games in Salem. So they just took the picture of the screen on YSN with the big YSN logo on it, and they said, look, it was a catch. And I was like, yeah, that's us.
Staying in football, because we'll go half of the segment football and then we'll go half volleyball, so that way we're not running into each other.
Had everything for football. Like every game Fitch played was amazing.
It was, and that first game, oh my goodness, with Trey Civarella right there. Oh my goodness, what a game that was! Back and forth, so much excitement in a single game. that was kind of a prelude, because I do think Salem West Branch definitely topped that one as far as the excitement and everyone hanging on, because it's also Salem West Branch. But Fitch and Ursuline kind of gave you a little prelude in those close games with a lot of drama. I mean, you talk about it. You had a fumble return. Well, first off, Fitch doesn't get a touchdown. They miss the touchdown, or miss a 2-point conversion. Excuse me. Miss a 2-point conversion on one end. Ball turns over to Ursuline. Ursuline drives it all the way down the field, fumbles in their own red zone. Fitch returns it all the way back to just about the 50. Fitch makes a couple plays, gets into field goal range. They have a chance to win the game. Ursuline comes up with a big blocked kick, field goal kick, to end up sealing the game. That was one of the craziest final couple minutes of a football game I've ever been a part of. And having a Ursuline student, Trace Varela, right there next to me was something truly special that night. It was very exciting.
There was something in the water at Ursuline, because they kept getting games like that were just like, I mean, they played Warren Harding. They had a walk-off kickoff return for a touchdown by Kylan Irving. Not really walk-off, but it was a game winning.
Yeah.
They had the game that they opened the season with against Bishop Hartley.
Yep, that was fantastic. DJ on the call with that one, DJ and Steve.
I can't even, like, there were so many. The playoff game where they looked dead in the water. The other team had the ball at the goal line, and Ursuline's defense made a goal line stand
all the way to state championship too.
And then found Ja'Kalen Irving for a 70-yard catch and run to walk that game off. I know the state championship game didn't go the way Ursuline wanted, but
we always have representation every single season, though. A team makes state championship. It feels like one of our teams that do every single season.
It was Ursuline was nuts.
One of my final football things, because I want to give time to talk volleyball, but the final football thing's kind of a two-parter, and it was the back-to-back wins against Harding for Fitch a year after getting knocked out of the playoffs by Harding. I think it was
nuts wins too. Both of them nuts wins.
Yeah, a road win at Harding, and then go right back to Fitch and get another win back-to-back. Hard to beat an opponent twice. Even harder to beat them in back-to-back weeks. And Fitch able to cleanse themselves of all those demons. They did eventually fall to a very, very good Akron-Hoban football team that I do believe went all the way to state. And Fitch, it was just a really special moment for them too, because you knew going into that game and just being on the call for both of those, how important both those games felt. And it was funny because they weren't even originally lined up, I don't think. They went into the last regular season game at Harding. Fitch got that big comeback win. They were able to get the onside kick recovery. They were able to take it down, get the win. And then we find out just after all the scores settle, they're playing again the next week, this time at Fitch, but you got to play Harding again. So just like last year, though, playoff opportunity for Harding to knock you out back in Fitch. And they were able to hold on again for the victory. And that was just really something special for Coach Parker and all the Falcons, because I knew since the beginning of the season that's the opponent they wanted. That's the opponent they wanted to prove themselves against, and they were able to do it not just once but twice.
I want to wrap up the football talk by just giving a bravo to everyone that worked with the Audible Call, made the second season of the Audible Call extremely fantastic. Mike Ackelson came in and killed it every week like he always does, and then they innovated and said, "Hey, we're not going to do it during the playoffs," but Mike Ackelson stepped up and said, "Why don't I just be a sideline reporter? Let's figure out how to do that." And we did. We figured out how to do it, and we nailed that too. Just because that's where I was every Friday night. I was in here producing the Audible Call, running the switcher over here, getting yelled at constantly that this game was happening, this game was happening. So props to everyone that helped with that. I felt like there were so many people that did. If you were off one week, you came in, you helped with it. I know Richie Giuliano was here one week and was just amazed by the way it looked. Gary Niddle came in for a couple of weeks. Brennan Miller stepped up every week, was here watching games with us. So everyone that kind of worked on the Audible Call all year, it was a great season of the Audible Call. We look forward to doing it again next year.
As we'll wrap up our football talk with that, we'll give us some time too for volleyball. Why don't you start with this one, Anthony? You got it.
I called more volleyball.
You did. I called my fair share too, but mostly within Fitch.
Let's start with the start of the season. The first game I called was Crestview Lakeview, And coming into this, it was a matchup of powerhouses. I mean, Lakeview was 22 wins last year. They hadn't lost any 8 game. They've lost one NE8 game, I'm sorry, in 3 seasons. Man, it was supposed to be a knockdown, drag-out volleyball match, and Crestview came in and just dominated the thing. And when I saw Abby Emch in the middle of that Crestview offense, that's when I said to myself, I didn't say it publicly because I didn't want to jinx him or overhype him or put too much pressure on him. But I said this Crestview team with that middle in the second rotation, because now they had Abby Emch and Shelby Rambo both in the middles, I said this team's going to do something special with the way that they can already pass. They can already set really well with Grace Hour and Lucy Montgomery. I saw Abby Emch in the middle, and I said that team's going to do something very special this year. And they did.
One of the best games I saw for Fitch, too, when the regular season happened when they went down to Louisville to take on the Lady Leopards in a 5-set match and a thriller back and forth as it literally was 1-1-1-1. Fitch ultimately went down at 1 point 2-1 after Louisville picked up the third set close. But as they did so many times, Lady Falcons were able to lock it down and come away with a 2 straight set victory and ended up winning that one 3-2 against Louisville. And I mean, just seeing that and watching those, the dynamic players, I should say, of Alyssa Leskovac along with Jocelyn Jordan, those two together worked in such a great tandem, and they were able to lead so many comebacks and the charge so many times for the Lady Falcons. And that was one of the first times I've ever gotten to see them put their game faces on and lead a comeback like that against a quality Louisville Lady Leopards.
It wouldn't be the last. You didn't get to call it, but you were in the gym for the tournament comeback against Aurora. That was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, because it looked like Fitch was dead in the water. I mean, they were getting beat up in the sets, and I was like, uh-oh. And then they just kind of flipped the switch, came back, and somehow won that game.
It's a game I was not going to go without talking about, and I'm glad you did bring it up too, because that game against Aurora, you talk about going down 2-0. You're right. It looked like they were dead in the water, and
it wasn't close sets. It was decisive sets.
Yeah, and you look at it, the Lady Greenmen had firm control, and I feel like Coach Bartlett and the Lady Falcons were trying to just play for respect at that time. You can't play to get swept, but you got to slow the game down as much as you can. You got to try to take it one set, one possession, one hit at a time, and it seems like however the Lady Falcons were able to do so on that given night, I don't know what it was that they were able to lock themselves into, but every single player was so locked in forcing that comeback and every single hit. And it wasn't like the Lady Greenmen took their foot off the gas either. I mean, pressure was still on. Fitch came away with 3 straight set victories to send them into that next matchup with Chardon. But that one was one of, if not, I think it was actually the most impressive. It was, because I mean, just talking about the short season, I think it's fair to say most impressive comeback I've ever witnessed in a volleyball match.
I want to give props to the Girard volleyball team this year. Like I said, Lakeview came into this season top dogs in the NE8. They'd beaten everyone. In the last 3 years, they'd only lost one match inside the NE8 total. So it was their league, and Girard came in, won both matches in 4 sets after losing the first, both times. Won the NE8, incredible team, young team still. They're returning almost everybody. Lauren Pallone, Brie Littell, they're coming back for more. Rafferty's coming back for more. Walters is coming back for more. Phil Walters coming back to coach Girard last season and getting more inclinated into that program. Just so impressive with Girard volleyball.
They were one of those impressive teams this year. And the last thing I want to definitely talk about, and I don't know how you can, I mean, you got to look at two sports too, because we also didn't talk a whole lot of soccer. Crestview. I want to talk Crestview. Soccer and volleyball. You got to talk about both of them, because Crestview was, I mean, their football team had a solid year too, don't get me wrong, but there was something going on with Crestview athletics too. Volleyball had a phenomenal season, came that close.
They were up 12-8 in the 5th set against Independence, who was a monster powerhouse in Division III.
And then in Crestview, soccer for the first time ever making it to the state title game. Like that's one where you have to talk about Crestview. And I didn't want to, I know we didn't talk a whole lot of soccer. We didn't have a whole lot of games on the network, but I still didn't want to go without giving recognition to them this fall, because Crestview soccer definitely deserves to be talked about.
Soccer gave us some of our funnest moments on the show. I love talking to those coaches and those players that we got to talk to. I want to shout out to Boardman Soccer for knocking down Howland this year.
Yeah, that was
huge upset for Boardman Soccer, and they were ecstatic over that. They got the win over Howland. I remember, getting to watch Salem girls in the season that they had, despite the ending that they didn't want, getting knocked out early in the tournament. But an amazing season for the Salem girls soccer team. Salem boys soccer team also had a great season. Mike Bailey coaching both of them with his 3 partners in crime, just kind of navigating both teams, finding a way to coach both teams at the same time. No one really had done that before, so they were kind of experimenting, and they got through that whole season with a lot of success.
Of course, the Salem West Branch soccer game too. The girls' soccer game was a stalemate until the last few minutes, as we expect Salem and West Branch all year long. But unfortunately, now we see we're starting to run out of time.
I could talk about this forever.
I know we could definitely talk memories and this year forever. It's been a great year for the network.
Before we get off soccer, the talent, the individual talent that we saw this year in soccer. You had Crestview, you had South Range having Gabby Lamparty, who was named a high school All-American.
Howland.
Howland's Howland. I mean, geez. South Range also had Camden Jones, who was also a high school All-American for soccer. Then you had the 3rd straight year where we've had a team from the area represented in a state championship game, Crestview being the first team to do it from Columbiana County. I mean, soccer it needs more respect in the area because it's consistently very, very good in this area.
Especially at the high school level, it's rising for sure. And yeah, what a great reflection we were able to do.
You can say that Bo Snyder brought a great student section to Springfield girls soccer. We got confirmation. We know it happened. He was called out in the beginning of the season, and we did get confirmation late in the season that he was
brought
doing
it.
A fantastic job. So
he brought it. But from all of us, I mean, from August 1st until now, I mean, we kind of started in this whole ride, and it's been a wild ride since. We took up about a third of this year. Talking some great memories from the beginning to the end of this year. It's been a great year, another year of growth for YSN as we continue to grow, as we look to just continue to keep growing, and we're going to continue to get better. And cheers to you, my friend, and to a successful 2022. We're going to start off with the beginning of the year. We're going to get a full 12 months under our belt for the next one.
Last thing before we go, we want to welcome our new teams of 2021, where Garfield came on the scene.
Howland
coming on the
scene.
Badger, Wyndham coming on the scene as well. So the new teams of 2021, welcome to the family. We hope that you have a great 2022 with YSN.
Whether you're a Brave or a Tiger, or you're a Bomber or a G-Man, we welcome you into the YSN family.
I love how 3 out of 4 of those are new mascots too.
Yeah, I love it too. So we're welcoming in all schools too, and here's to a 2022 full year of Running Point with Anthony and Ty, and a whole new year to add more schools and a whole new year for more growth for YSN.
We are taking a year break.
We'll see you all in 2022.
Because that joke's never been heard before.
No, not at all.
I want to leave you with this question that'll linger for the next year. Why is the word fridge spelled with a D, but the word refrigerator not? Think about that.
That's a question you want to leave them all with.
Think about that while you wait for the next Running Point on Monday from 12 to 2. Casual Sports Podcast coming up next from 2 to 3. Power Hour 3 to 4. No games on the network tonight or tomorrow because teams are off for the holiday. But we'll be back on Monday with picks and a lot of fun things on Monday as well. So we'll be back on Monday. Remember, fridge spelled with a D, refrigerator not. It's one of life's serious questions that must be answered.
Cheers to 2022, everyone. Happy